covering the Phillies for 97.3 ESPN.com, and he will be down in spring training. We'll get a lot of his insight on that, but we'll turn to him now, Frank, as about a year or so ago, this farm system was in shambles, and many people blamed Amaro for that. But who are you giving the credit for this farm system turning around all of a sudden?
Well, I think it would be wrong to not give Ruben Amaro Jr. some credit. Unfortunately, when he made these moves, his fate was pretty much settled. But he did a nice job getting that return from the Texas Rangers, and I really think he does deserve some credit for that.
All right. Well, they got 7 guys on the top 100, and all of a sudden, it was J.P. Crawford and his merry men down there. All of a sudden, it's J.P. Crawford and some depth. But let's start with Crawford, Frank. When can Phillies fans anticipate seeing Crawford at the big league level?
Well, I think there's a chance that we see him this season, somewhere down the line. If it becomes July and he's really showing us at AAA that it's time to come up, then I think they'll let him come up. I mean, I think the advantage to having somebody like Freddie Galvis in the major league is you can throw him at second base if he's outperforming Cesar Hernandez, or you just call up Crawford and he goes to the bench. I mean, they're really not committed to Galvis long term. So really, when Crawford shows that AAA pitching can't get him out anymore, then he's ready to come up.
All right, some of the other guys on this list, and by the way, J.P. Crawford, I believe, was number 5 on the overall list there, which obviously tells you that this guy should be a legitimate player in the big leagues, and I guess the heir apparent to Jimmy Rollins is J.P. Crawford is number 5 on the top 100 list. The rest of the guys, Frank, have all come from other organizations, showing how important those trades really were to this team. And when you look at the Phillies moving forward here, in the 7 guys in the top 100, one of the guys that really sticks out is you look at where this team was, where it was really Franco for 2 years, and they had basically nobody else.
Well, basically you saw Franklin and Nola. Now Roman Quinn and Cornelius Randolph, they were Phillies draft picks, so that they're still on that list. But certainly Jorge Alfaro, Nick Williams, and Jake Thompson, they came back from the Rangers in that trade.
Yeah, so they really restocked this through those 2 trades. Let's start with Jake Thompson. He's number 55. Any shot that he makes the team out of spring training? If not, when do we anticipate seeing him?
I think there's a shot, but I think the Phillies have so many starting pitchers in camp, and I think what they're going to do in 2016 is prioritize keeping the veterans like Charlie Morton and Jeremy Hellickson. They're going to commit to giving them starts, if for no other reason other than that they hope to flip them at the trade deadline. So it might be a situation where Charlie Morton if he has a good first half, he gets flipped. If we see Jeremy Hellickson have a good first half, he'll get flipped. And then there's a spot for Jake Thompson. But I think that Thompson's a good bet to start at AAA. But he does have a good shot of coming up soon thereafter, maybe mid-season, depending what happens. Or at the same time, if Hellickson and Morton are complete failures, and that's evident really early on, they can easily just cut them and turn to a Thompson.
64 is Nick Williams, another guy that came over in the Cole Hamels deal. And I guess of the position players other than Crawford, maybe even before Crawford, he might be the guy that has the best chance of getting up there this year.
Yeah, I really like him. He seemed to do a really nice job last year in Reading. He batted .320 for the Fightin' Phils, and he really brought a lot of energy and good defense. And I think that's another situation where he might get to start at AAA, and then if he makes a statement that he's ready to come up, well, then maybe they'll let him come up. A lot depends on how the Phillies' young outfield will do. I'm not sure Cody Ashley has a long-term future in the Phillies' outfield. Aaron Altair might stick around, or Odubel Carrera might stick around. Certainly they've taken a Rule 5 pick that they're going to give a shot. But he really will decide when he comes up. So really, I'd say about midseason, if we see how he's doing, then if he's batting .320, for example, then he might force the Phillies' hand.
Interesting one is number 70, Mark Appel. He came over in that deal for Ken Giles. He was the number 1 overall pick in 2013. Has not lived up to that promise, but can he be salvaged by coming to Philadelphia?
I think so. One tagline you see given to Appel frequently is a change of scenery candidate. He was highly touted. He opted to go back to college instead of taking his first round pick the first time. So he's a smart guy. A lot will depend on how he bounces back. We'll see if the fresh start actually helps him, but some people think he does have a shot to still be a frontline starting pitcher, but maybe middle rotation is probably the better bet.
Frank Klose, Frank Klose with us, 97.3 ESPN.com. He'll be covering the Phillies for us, and he'll be down in spring training. We'll get those dates from Frank in just a minute, so we'll get some more information there. But Frank, Cornelius Randolph, you mentioned him. He was the 10th pick last year, so it's obvious that they might have done a good job in the draft, which is yet another good positive for Amaro out the door.
Yeah, I think he'll be a nice pick. A lot of people, when they drafted him, they said, "Oh, another shortstop." Well, they really drafted him as a left fielder, and so Randolph kind of fits the need. They really need a good power left-handed bat down the line, somebody that maybe could hit behind Maikel Franco, and I think he might be the guy.
Jorge Alfaro, catcher. This was a spot they were pretty weak at when they made this trade. They were searching for Hamels deals for a catcher in that deal. He comes in at number 96, but all of a sudden the Phillies have a couple of catchers. Where does he sit in the organization now?
Well, Andrew Knapp has been invited to spring training, so he's going to get the first look. Now, he's not on this top 100 prospect list, but he is highly thought of in the Phillies organization, in their top 10. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see Knapp in spring training. He might have the first shot to crack the Phillies. And since Alfaro battled injury last year, I think he's going to start at Double-A and get a chance to really get healthy. And then we'll see where it goes from there. But Knapp will probably be the starter at Triple-A, splitting some time with Gabriel Lino, who maybe at best be a major league backup. So I think that since Knapp is ahead of him, he has some time to cook in the minor league.
And then the last guy, Roman Quinn, who got hurt last year, but he's another guy, speedy outfielder. And look, the Phillies don't have a lot of depth in the outfield. While they've got some young players like Herrera, they brought Peter Borges over. When do you think Quinn is the guy? Because he's been around a little bit longer than some of these other guys that we just mentioned.
Yeah, Quinn is 22 years old at this point, and I think that we could see him sooner than later. He suffered an Achilles injury. And I think we watched Ryan Howard and how difficult that is. And he really is a player that relies heavily on his wheels. So he seemed to recover nicely, but when you rupture your Achilles, that's a big deal. And he also tore a hip flexor. So if he gets healthy, I mean, he could be one of those players that just never does. That's the concern. But you see, by being included on this list, he is very high upside at this point.
So 7 guys in the Major League top 100. Only one, though, in the top 50. Everybody else below 50 except for J.P. Crawford. Who are some other guys other than those 7, Frank, that you think might be interesting guys to keep an eye on throughout this season?
Well, I think who the Phillies draft is going to be the next indicator. Having the first pick overall, that's going to be a big deal this year, and they simply can't afford to get that wrong. So if you draft right, then you'll perhaps have another name on this top 100 list for next year. Franklin Kilome, who pitched last year up in Williamsport for the Crosscutters, he is a really nice looking pitcher. I did get up there to see him once before the year was over. He had a little bit of injury, so they sort of were limiting his innings after all, but he's a right-hander. He throws fast. He's just 22 years old at this point. Big guy. He's 6'6", and I think I would place him next on the list. And the Phillies do in their top 10 on MLB.com.
Yeah, another guy who's not on the list, but the guy they got in the Giles trade, Velasquez. He's an interesting guy too. Young guy, but he was with Houston, so not really ranked as a prospect. But another young player who most likely will make the major leagues this year. So there are some young players to keep an eye on that will make the big league roster. But it's good to see that the minor leagues also are replenished finally.
Yeah, indeed, and I think the Phillies fans will have a lot to watch this year. Some pick Velasquez to be a back of the bullpen type arm. Some see him as a starter. I think they'll try him as a starter first because they might find more value with it there. But if you look down the Phillies roster going into spring training at the very least, a lot of young names that you get excited about. I mean, we only have two that are in holdovers at this point, in Ryan Howard and Carlos Ruiz, both in their last year of their contract. So I think looking forward, it's a lot nicer. I mean, I personally think Aaron Altherr is a nice-looking player, and I'm interested in seeing what he becomes, whether it's even a nice utility player or maybe it's enough to start. Who knows? But I want to see, and I think what we saw from Duval Herrera last year was worth getting excited about, and even Tyler Goodell, their Rule 5 pick, maybe he shows them something and sticks around. I mean, they got very lucky last year with Herrera, so I think there's a lot for Phillies fans to even watch right now, even though they don't have the prospect tag on them.
Well, and Mark Appel had said, look, he was a part of that Astros team that in 2013, that team lost 101 games. 2 years later, they were in the playoffs. Are the Phillies closer than maybe you felt they were at this point last year?
Oh, this is a big improvement over last year. Last year, you kind of went into spring training. A lot of the old guys were still there, and you're thinking, well, if Cliff Lee pitches okay, and you pair him with a good Cole Hamels, well, then maybe there's a shot that they kind of hang around. This year at least we know the Phillies have no shot. The Phillies know they have no shot. But really, they can let these young players play to see what happens later on, and I think that's the priority right now. And the reason why you still have a Carlos Ruiz and you still have a Ryan Howard is that there really is nobody behind them that needs to play. So we have them. We can think of the good old memories. And other positions, we'll see the young talent.
Frank, you'll be in spring training covering the Phils. When are those dates you'll be down there?
I'll be there the first week of the games, which begins on I won't be there for the University of Tampa game, which is that Sunday, the final Sunday in February. But I'll be there March 2nd when they open at March 1st when they open at Bright House Field.
So Phillies spring training right around the corner. Frank will be down there. You can read stuff from Frank at 97.3ESPN.com, part of the SportsTalkPhilly.com, where you can get Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, and Flyers news. And Frank will be handling the Phillies stuff this year for 97.3ESPN.com. He's at Frank Klose 973 on Twitter. That's Klose. And Frank, look forward to that. And you're right. I think what we're seeing with the Sixers is kind of morphing into what the Phillies are doing now. You're going to get a chance to see a lot of younger players over the next year or two before they really blossom into, hopefully maybe a year or two, 2017, 18, somewhere around there, where you start to see some things turn around.
And I think if you follow Andy McPhail's history, and remember he had Matt Klentak right with him as director of baseball operations in Baltimore, his strategy was stock up on arms, and then when you're ready to compete, we'll sign a bat in free agency. So if you're looking at the Phillies lineup and saying, there's really not many power arms, I think we can look at the pitching staff and see that they have lots of options. If everything's going well, they'll sign a bat in free agency. So if you're just looking at what they have at the moment, you might wonder where the offense is going to come from. But I do believe that Andy McPhail and Matt Klentak will go get some bats when the time's right for the pitching.
February 18th, pitchers and catchers. Frank Klose, everybody covering the Phillies. Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care. We'll talk to Frank throughout the baseball season.